Hi guys, I want to talk about filmmakers versus YouTubers. So I wanted to add my 2 cents to the debate apparently right now on filmmakers versus YouTubers. I wouldn't weigh in on this if I didn't feel like I had valid points on both ends. So I work with big YouTubers, and to say that they're not filmmakers or they don't deserve to be called filmmakers is what I gotta just sort of laugh at. I don't understand why we're labeling everything. Like, back in the day, you would have to be chosen to be on TV. And that's basically what I think of YouTube or even social media, all social media in general, well, especially video component like YouTube, TikTok and stuff. But back in the day, you'd have to be chosen to be on those shows. Like, you'd have to go through audition processes and stuff. And even filmmakers have to be chosen to make films, make movies. And it was all, it's hierarchy, it's gatekeepers, it's everything that we hate or hated. I think what we have now in social media is like a bit of a gold rush. And I say that as an old man. I say that as a 42-year-old YouTuber / filmmaker. I think the terms are what we're worried about too much here. Like, filmmaking and YouTube I think it's just hand in hand. The YouTubers that I work with, I don't think they even think of themselves necessarily as filmmakers, but some of the stuff we make together or the stuff they shoot isn't filmmaking, is kind of, they're using a camera to produce a show. I mean, that's how I look at it in like 80s, 90s terms. They're picking up a camera, they have a post-production process, which is me, and we release it. So in a way, we're like our own TV station. And like, I think people forget that this stuff's super new. Like YouTube, even if you go back to the very start of YouTube, what was it, like 2005? We're in the 20-year stage. Like, we're in the first 20 years of YouTube. The ability to just pick up a camera, I'm literally picking up a phone, which again, in 2004, we didn't have these, and I'm recording 4K footage. Is it gonna look amazing right now? No, because it's a little dark, but we're shooting 4K footage, decent audio. Hopefully it's decent, hopefully it's recording audio. And I'm gonna publish on this where it could get 1 view, it could get 0 views, or it could get 10 million views. The power in that is what I'm trying to get across here. Like, the fact that we're complaining and arguing on what's a filmmaker, what's a YouTuber, what's a content creator, it's just the same stuff. I mean, of course at times I've thought of like, oh, am I a filmmaker? I read this book, Robert Rodriguez's Rebel Without a Crew. And this is back when I was super into this idea, like, I'm gonna make a $5,000 movie that's gonna blow up. And that's basically all we could do. We could only really dream of that because we didn't have a YouTube where we could just publish a phone shot thing and have an audience, or at least try to find that audience. But the dream was always to make this cheap movie that blew up, like El Mariachi. And so he wrote this book, and he kind of addresses this in, I believe it's like early in the book. And he's talking about the fact that even he was worried about, like, is he a filmmaker? Well, he's like, put your name on a business card, print it out, and call yourself a filmmaker. There, boom, you're a filmmaker. And I kind of feel like that's the same with YouTube and everything. Like, you want to call yourself a YouTuber? Print a business card out with your name on it and say YouTuber, say filmmaker, say content creator. Like, the difference between a filmmaker and a YouTuber, or a filmmaker who turned to YouTube, like, you have to think of YouTube as like, that's the platform like TV, or a channel, like a TV station back in the day. And again, like a lot of these kids, and I'm shaking my cane like an old man, but I am shaking my cane like an old man because I feel like 20-somethings don't understand they don't grasp the idea that you are the gatekeeper to what you want to do. Now, especially now with YouTube and everything, I still think we're in a gold rush. You can literally pick up a camera. Like, just think of this. I went for a walk with my dog. Is this video gonna get hundreds of views? I doubt it. But I don't care. I'm making something, expressing a thought, an idea. I'm expressing my thoughts around this. I was super introverted as a kid, and the idea of making like a $6,000 movie and blowing up, going to film festivals was like the dream, because that's all I wanted to do. I wanted to make the work kind of like speak for myself. But I realized as I got older is this whole thing, this absolutely everything we're talking about, even this, like talking here, this is a people business. Everything is people. Everything is everything is relationships. And even if now, when I think about movies and making a cheap movie, I don't think of it as like, oh, this will be my calling card. This will be my film festival darling, where I'll be invited to these film festivals and people will be like, oh, I love this movie, blah, blah, blah. And then like people are just going to cut me a fat check. I highly doubt that would happen, but I would push the needle 100% more, move that needle just with me, my personality, and not saying I have this awesome personality. I'm just saying talking to people and just getting involved with other people's stuff, even businesses or whatever it is. Like I'm really generalizing here, but this whole game, the game of almost life, not almost, it is, when you really distill this down into like this, the most generic thing is everything is about people, and it's not about being a dickhead. I felt like it was a bit of on a roll there, so I got to get some B-roll. I got to get some B-roll as we're rolling. No, I got really passionate there because I think I hit something with the idea that everything's about the relationships you build. Everything I've got, any kind of like success I've brought to myself, my family, everything is 100% because of the relationships I've built over the years. And sometimes you're building relationships without even really like thinking about it. And it's like, obviously you don't think of it in that kind of gross terms, like, oh, I got to hang out with people so I can build relationships to like make more money. But that is actually what happens. A rant about people. And but I've seen a lot of videos recently kind of come from my algorithm talking about exactly this, like how you kind of gravitate toward the people, especially online with social media. But people are looking for people like that express an idea, a thought, even if it's like a controversial idea. You know, if they kind of align with your beliefs, they'll follow you and they will be a part of your community, part of your, you build that relationship with them, really. And that's all it is. I don't know. It's people kind of seem to overcomplicate this. I know that was a bit of a tangent from the YouTuber filmmaker talk, but not really. I think it's still related. Going with that idea again is, I think the YouTuber people who get big and they're not necessarily filmmakers, I think they have a huge advantage over filmmakers because it's less polished. And especially if people have that kind of gumption to kind of like get started, they pick up a camera, they post stuff, they post 100 terrible videos, but the 101st one is like the one they kind of blew up their channel a bit, or at least grew it a bit. I really think with filmmakers, people who, especially like my age people, they are definitely more on the downturn of things, and like, oh, kind of like a more on the boo-hoo me kind of thing. Like, oh, I haven't really done a whole lot. And these YouTubers are sort of like taking all the viewership and stuff. And it's like, I think that's an advantage that YouTubers have, is that you're not thinking necessarily about the gear or how it's edited necessarily. They're sort of just going by instinct and just sort of like, figuring it out as they go. And I think the best YouTubers now are people who started years ago. Not saying you can't start now and be good too, but they're just trial and error, right? You're just kind of failing hundreds of times until it's like not terrible. This is in a really weird spot here. I can't quite get in here. I feel like, especially personally, I say this kind of more personally because I come from a more like dreaming of being a filmmaker, making a big splash in like film, like specifically like feature films. And coming from that, I kind of get caught up in this, oh, it's got to look a certain way, and it's got to look cinematic all the time, and I just completely overthink the content. And I've even made videos about overthinking the content. So yes, I can see you can get completely jealous of like people just picking up a camera and shooting something that's super grainy and the audio is crappy even. And got to keep that audio good though. I feel audio is super important. way more important than the camera. Basically what I'm saying is trial and error, just failing hundreds of times, making crappy videos. Basically making crappy videos is kind of, I want to make a shirt, make crappy videos, and your 101st one will be decent. It won't even necessarily be the one that blew you up.